My name is Sara. Thanks so much for coming to today's session. As I said, we want to get feedback as well as share some new things with you. So we're going to talk about the grid view, what that means I'll explain in a second, the benefits of the ACS ID and signing in to the site when you browse the site, e-alerts and RSS feeds being a big part of that. Integration with SciFinder, we'll show you a little bit of that, as well as introduce you to ACS Mobile for Android and iPhone. And then I'll talk a little bit about the ACS Network, which I mentioned in our last presentation. So items in blue that you'll see pop up on the screen, those are kind of click-throughs that you'll probably do if you want to try any of these things yourself. Items in yellow may be programs or things that we're doing in publications that you may not know about that you might want to investigate. So we'll start with the grid view first. So again, the JAX homepage you might have gotten here because you went through SciFinder, Web of Science, maybe Google Scholar, or maybe you just visit the JAX page from time to time periodically to look at TOCs or articles ASAP. So you might start at the current issue. Maybe you're looking at articles ASAP. Maybe you're actually checking out our just accepted manuscripts. Just accepted manuscripts are open access for the period when the author submits it to when it's accepted, but it hasn't received any kind of ACS editing. So we take the manuscript. If the author elects to be just accepted, we'll put it straight on the site exactly as they submitted it. And then in the period that it's on there, it has a DOI. You can use the research. You can cite it. And then as soon as it becomes part of the journal article, it will move into article ASAP and then move behind the subscription wall. So you might be looking at those. You might be looking at our Publishing Your Research 101 video series. This is a series that we're doing. It's free to anyone who can get to YouTube. Where we're showing people how to do certain steps in the manuscript process, whether it's doing a cover letter, putting together your manuscript, and we're having ACS editors and major authors participate in this. So George Whitesides is from Harvard, is in the first issue. So you might be taking a look at that, or you might be going to JAX Beta, which is on the bottom right here. JAX Beta is sort of our sandbox where we try out different functionalities and tools that we want to consider going site-wide with, but we're not sure yet. So we'll play around on there. We'll get your feedback via polling, and then we'll go live on the site if we think it's something that users are interested in. So if you've heard of any of those, indicate yes. If you actually have used them or checked them out, indicate yes. And if you haven't, but you're interested, or you just think that this is absolutely not worth your time, it's not something you would ever do, you can just indicate that on the sheet. That would be great. But maybe you're just probably here because you want to look at abstracts and TOCs. So from there, you'll probably come to the ASAPS page. And are you guys familiar that this page, it has sort of one abstract after another, and you have to scroll and scroll and scroll to kind of get to the bottom of the page. Maybe you're on this page and you want to find all the ACS author choice articles, so all of the open access articles on this page. They're indicated by a little red icon on the upper left. If you want to do that on this page, you would have to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and click and select the ones you wanted to use, and that can take some time. With grid view, which is the center icon at the top of any of these abstract pages, you will get a page that looks like this. So instead of seeing one abstract, you might see as many as 9 above the fold. You just pick the abstract you wanted to look at. The abstract would pop out. You can interact with all the different abstracts just by clicking left or right on the arrows or left or right on your keyboard. And then from there you get all of the information that you're used to seeing with an abstract. The TOC image, the actual abstract itself, the authors, and of course access to the full text if you want it. Again, so if you've used any of this, please note it on the form. If it's not something you've used but you think you might want to try it now that you know about it, please indicate that as well. So once you've picked that, it goes back to the page, it highlights what abstract you were looking at so that you don't sort of lose your place, and then you can continue scrolling down so you can see a little bit more. Is this something people might try now that you've seen it? Yeah? So why sign in? Does anyone have an ACS ID right now? Oh, good. That's more than we're used to. ACS ID, why sign in? You have how many passwords and login names that you have to memorize, right? And of course you're like, why do I want another one? Hopefully I can make a case so that you can take an extra step of creating an ACS ID. If you haven't had one, you'd go to the left. That blue bar at the top of the site is on every single page of the site. You can click there to register. If you already have a login, you can just go ahead and log in. And here's why you should do it. So this will pop out, you'll log in, and you will have a profile page. And this is not unlike Amazon or Netflix where you can kind of select how you want to interact with the page. But the reason we encourage ACS people to sign into ACS ID is because it facilitates the personalization of the site. The site starts to know what you're looking at, where you're doing research, and it starts to push to you research that is related, that it hopes you'll find interesting. So not unlike Amazon's functionality or Netflix's functionality, the more that you're integrated with the site by signing in, the more hopefully the site will be more useful to you. So some of the things you can do. RSS feeds. Does anyone use RSS feeds right now as a way of pushing information? Great, I'll show you what that looks like in a second. Frequently repeated searching. So if you know that given the project you're working on, you're always doing the same search every couple days or maybe once a week, you can take care of that search, save it on the site, and just have it run and push to you repeatedly rather than running the search over and over again. Frequently read content. If you know that you're going to have to keep referencing an article because you're using the methods in it for a manuscript you're putting together, you can just favorite the article and know where it is and keep track of it on one page so you're not searching your desktop, searching through your folders. You know where it is on the site and you can go back to it. Recommendations based on your viewing history. This is where the interaction with the site starts to come in. Once the site starts to understand what you're looking at, what research is important to you, that section of your profile will start to populate with recommended content. And again, we're looking for feedback from people as to how useful that really is. This is what the RSS feed page looks like. So again, if you know you're always tracking certain journals, but the fire hose of information that's coming at you is too much via email, RSS is a nice way to be able to scan what's going on in a given journal or in a given podcast or community feed without actually having it all pushed to you via email. Your favorite content, again, this is what the page would look like. You can sort the list in a bunch of different ways. You can view all the TOC graphics here, but again, it's a dedicated page to content that you've previously indicated is important. A couple things I wanted to point out on the abstract page. So I've just randomly picked an abstract from Journal of Organic Chemistry. The related content sort of right side margin. A lot of people sort of ignore the right side of a screen because I think we're all used to sort of expecting, pop-up ads or things to be on that side. Actually do take a look at it the next time you're on the page because it's choosing content that's related to the article you're currently looking at. It's also going to give you content by the authors who are indicated in the abstract. So if you know they're doing research in the area that you're interested in, it's quite worthwhile to look at other things that they're publishing. Our SciFinder linking, we are really working on integrating the robust, CAS databases and the journals to kind of facilitate the sort of back and forth you were mentioning between the journals and SciFinder. Has anyone used this? Has anyone seen this before? Okay, this is good. We need to know this. So if you're on this abstract and the cool thing about the SciFinder links box is that the links it provides are based on the abstract. So if getting a substance as a reference doesn't make sense for that particular article, then they won't pop up. But whatever you want related to that article, if it's in SciFinder, it will be in that box and you can go straight to SciFinder and get it. And now that all of you have site-wide access, you won't have some of the problems that academic campuses do where you'll log on and there aren't enough seats. You'll all be able to use it assuming you have your ID. So this is something when you complete your evaluation at the end of the day, we'll follow up with you in about a month and ask, did you try this? Because this is something that we're really hoping will be useful to users, but as you just indicated, not as many people know about it as we want to know about it. And then just a little, the tools column, I think we're all used to seeing whether it's on the New York Times or on our site. The favorites, add to favorites is obviously the way that you can save it onto your profile. But I wanted to point out the citation alerts at the bottom of the tools page, because that is a fun tool. If, say, you've just published something or your group has published something and you want to see how often it's cited, you'll get an email every time it's cited. And that's got to be sort of satisfying in a way. But that is a way to kind of track how research you're using is getting cited and how frequently. All right, so I'm going to go over our mobile app. Do people know that we have a mobile app? No. Has anyone used it before? No. Okay, cool. It is for Android and iPhone. I'll show you a little bit of the functionality, and then when we're in other sessions today, if you actually want to see it, I can show you on my phone. It's pretty cool. It's mostly a notification app. You can read the full text when you get it, but basically you indicate what journals you want to follow, and we then you will get ASAPs pushed out to you within minutes that they go on the web. So you can view mobile-friendly abstracts and TOC graphics, whether it's on a small phone or on a tablet. The TOC graphics are really big. It's very easy to read. All the names of the articles are very easy to read. You basically select the journals you want to follow. You can then email them to a colleague, email them to yourself, so when you get back to your desk, you can read them. You can post to Facebook or Twitter. You can mark as my ASAP and then read it offline. So if you know, okay, I've got wireless access at the lab, but when I get on the train to go home, I can't access. You can save it and then read it when you're no longer on 3G or on wireless. You get the CNN latest news live feed as one of the options. You can filter the results, and then you can read the full text. So if any of you are using iPads or other tablets, it's pretty much like having the journal article, the printed journal article in your hand. It really looks quite nice. But even on an iPhone or a smaller smartphone, it actually does read pretty well. The app is not free. It is $4.99. A lot of people ask, why isn't it free? And basically, this is not meant to be a blockbuster moneymaker for us. It's mostly to cover the cost of developing the app and cover the cost of having a dedicated server just for the mobile app. We want it to be as fast and up-to-date as possible, so it really needs its own server. And that is what the $4.99 is, which is basically, I think, a cup and a half of coffee at Starbucks. So that's sort of the cost benefit there. And the last thing I want to share with you is the ACS Network. Has anyone heard of this? Is anyone on it? Yes? Okay, a couple of people. That's a relief. Okay, good. A lot of people ask, what is this? Why should I be involved? I already do Facebook, or I already have sort of other internet profiles. What do I need another one? Basically, this is sort of a Facebook, LinkedIn mashup, but for scientists. And I emphasize scientists and not chemists because, again, just like SciFinder, this is really a tool for anyone who's engaging in chemistry and the allied sciences, by no means just a tool for chemists. It uses the ACS ID, so again, no new password and login. It's the same one that you use to personalize your experience on the pub's site. It's very good for professional networking on the one hand and for social networking on the other. It's open to anyone, again, with an ACS ID, so you do not need to be an ACS member. You do not need to be a self-identified chemist by any means. Say you're trying to keep in touch with people you went to grad school with, this is a place to do it. But more, I think the professional networking piece is what is the most interesting. Right now we have about 200,000 members in 167 countries using the ACS network right now. But again, the question is, why should I bother having yet another online profile? Are you looking for a job, or do you anticipate that you may one day need to look for a job? You can search job opportunities on the ACS network as well as post them. So if you're looking to hire a postdoc, if you're looking to find a postdoc, this is definitely a good place to look. You can create a profile that includes all of your professional information. So your resume, your education, everything you've published to date can all go on your profile. You can build networks with former people in your lab, people that you're meeting at conferences, prospective employers. It's a good place to sort of stay in touch, not unlike the functionalities of LinkedIn. You can view your friends' connections, right? So if you meet someone at a conference that you kind of want to know more about their PI or whatever, you can follow who your friends are following, and then you can actually follow and track what they post, not unlike Twitter. Are you part of a lab group? You can create secret or private groups on the site. So if your lab wants to share information regarding your work, you can do it on the site. It's secret, it's secure. You can share journal articles with members in your lab. A lot of people will do the email everyone in the lab, or sort of collect it in a folder and try to get it to everyone. This is a way of keeping it all in one place so everybody can access it. You can share your lab findings. You can bookmark and save content that people need to be reading. And then you can tag and categorize content, right? Because maybe people in your lab need to be aware of different types of articles, and you want to keep them separate so people can read what they need and not anything extra. And then lastly, you can engage in discussion. So if your collaborators are on the other side of the globe, but you need their feedback on something you've put up to the group, they can take care of it in their own time. So this looks like something you probably recognize. It's a little bit of LinkedIn, it's a little bit of Facebook. You have a profile, you have status updates and things like that. But you also have your education, your experience, your publications, as well as just stuff that you want to do, whether it's collaborating to make documents on the site, microblogging that you're doing for people that you're working with, discussions, polls that you want to do, all of the functionalities on the site. It's secure. So again, I know no one wants yet another password and ID, but we think that this is a useful tool that hopefully we'll hope you'll consider using. And that's at acs.org/network. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to show you. If you took a second to figure out if any of it was interesting and you can indicate it on the sheet, that would be awesome. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Anyone? No? Okay. Oh, yeah, sure.
Just a quick comment. Since you were talking about interfacing with digital content, now that supporting information is becoming more and more common,
yeah,
it would be really convenient if there was a way to either have a separate link that had the main paper and the supporting information bundled together, so with one click you could download the entire document, as opposed to the way it is now
where you have to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a piece of feedback that we've gotten at several of these ACS on campus events, and I am definitely passing that back. So you basically have one PDF that would be the whole article, and then at the end of it, there would be the SI?
Yeah, it would all be bundled. So it would be one PDF document, and it would just all be merged together so that you're
not going to two places. Yes, thank you for that. That is a recurring piece of feedback, and I will make sure that that goes back. Other questions? Suggestions? Complaints? Irritations? This is the place, because it does get heard and it does get reported back. Yes?
I just want to be clear on our SciFinder login. Our SciFinder login, that's different than an ACS Network login, right?
Yes, I'm sorry.
But we don't have to be ACS members to create an ACS Network login, right?
Right.
And I think, I don't know how the fields with the ACS login work, but you could potentially try to use the same ID. So you take your SciFinder ID and password and make that become your ACS login ID and password. So if that, cause I know different sites have different restrictions on that, but the SciFinder ID and password, the ID is something that we create back at CAS, or something that the librarian would create. But you could take that and make that become a login ID and password for your ACS ID.
And in addition, we have tried to bundle some of those things. So if you are an ACS member and you then get an ID, we'll lump all of your membership information in there, so you don't, again, have so many places you have to go to get sort of all of your ACS information. Yes?
You have to print off lists, and you annotate them, and you have them sitting on your desk.
Right.
Is there any way, or anything in the plans, that when you get these lists, you could write in your own self-annotation, sharing, but so when you go back to that list, you have your comments down
Within the site, so say like within your ACS ID profile, you have your articles. Yeah, this is again another piece of feedback we've gotten. We are investigating that. It's one of those things where you know, the difficulty a lot of publishers are facing is, do you wait and see how much demand there is for something like that before you implement it, or do you just spend all the money to implement it and really hope people use it? So this is a great piece of feedback because we've gotten it before. It really seems like recreating the print experience is pretty important to most people. I think, are most of you printing out your PDFs if you know you're going to mark them up, right? And is anyone really using an iPad and using the, there's an app that allows you to write on the iPad. So, right, we're not all covered in iPads and using that. So yeah, this is a functionality that we've been hearing more about, and I definitely will take that back. I appreciate that because I think that would be useful.